Hello fellow gamers, I am your host Brent Justice and welcome once again to the TheFPSReview.com's YouTube channel. I have another video card to show you today. This is the MSI GeForce GTX 1660 Super Gaming X. This is the top end, highest SKU 1660 Super that MSI has to offer. So here's the box here, and we can see just quite clearly from the front box this is the Gaming X version, and that X is very important. That denotes that this is the very top end SKU. There is a non-X version. It has lower clock speeds than this on the boost. However, it looks the same and has the same cooler. There is also MSI's Ventus line, so there is another line of video cards under the gaming series as well for the 1660 Super, but this is the top end. This is the best they have. It has the twin Frozer 7 thermal design based on the 1660 Super GeForce GTX, and then all the little things listed here: Turing shaders, GDDR6, DirectX 12, and so on. So the box is quite simple, and it gives you a good idea what the video card looks like without even looking at the video card. It shows the RGB on it. Quite nice. I like that it shows just a nice, clean, simple picture of the card, so you know what you're getting before you even take it out of the box. But of course, we are going to take it out of the box, and we have done so, and there it is. Now, this video card actually looks very, very appealing. It's got a very nice aesthetic design to it. It has this black and gunmetal gray with a brushed metal backplate. So we'll just take a quick view of it real quick, and then we'll talk about the specifications. Two fans here. It has, of course, this part here is black, and then raised above that is this gray part, which may be harder to see in the camera. It doesn't show as prominent as it is in real life, but when you put it in your computer and it lights up with the RGB, you can really see the difference. And then on the back of it is the brushed backplate. Look at that. Again, it might be hard to tell on camera, but it is a really nice silver gray, and it's you can hear that there. It's got a good sound to it. Very solid, very nice. So we'll talk about all of that, but let's go over the specifications really quick here. This video card, when we reviewed it on our website, it was $269.99. As of the recording of this video, however, which is after our review, I saw that it has dropped down to $259. So a little bit of a price drop, actually, which is very exciting. But that means that the pricing is fluctuating. So you'll just have to check and see what it is. But at $259 to $269, that is definitely closer to Radeon RX 5600 XT than it would be to the Radeon RX 5500 XT. Now, to see how it actually performs compared to those two video cards, you want to check out our review, because we used both of those video cards, including an 8GB Radeon RX 5500 XT, and we compared that to a Radeon RX 5600 XT, and then put this card in there and overclock this card. So we have a really good comparison there that shows where the performance lines up. But this is based on NVIDIA's GeForce GTX 1660 Super GPUs. Now, what's interesting about the 1660 Super is that it actually has the same specifications as a 1660 non-Super in terms of the GPU. What makes the Super version different is that the Super version has 6 GB of GDDR6 memory at 14 GHz versus 6 GB of GDDR5 memory at 8 GHz on the non-Super version. So that memory frequency increase allows this to have a memory bandwidth of 336 gigabytes a second versus 192 gigabytes a second on the non-Super. And that's really the only difference between the 1660 and 1660 Super. Faster memory and a higher and faster, more memory bandwidth. The base clock on a 1660 Super is 1530 megahertz, and the boost clock is 1785. So 1785 boost clock is the normal frequency on a 1660 or 1660 Super. Now, this being the Gaming X, has a factory boosted overclock. This one is set at 1830. So 1830 is the boost instead of 1785. Now, of course, with the way that NVIDIA GPU boost works, the boost will be well over that when actually gaming. And that's based on the power delivery and the cooling that the video card has. The GTX 1660 Super GPU has 1408 CUDA cores, 48 ROPS, and 88 TMUs. And as we said, this has 6 gigabytes of GDDR6 at 14 gigahertz, and that's the standard. So the big difference here is the factory boost clock on this, and of course the robust cooling. The video card is rated at a power consumption of 125 watts and recommends a 450 watt power supply. And for this level of card, it does require an 8-pin power connector. So this is definitely going to require a little more juice, but that is to give it that higher and better and more stable overclocking ability there. So 8-pin power for this video card. Also, the video card is not large. Another big advantage. It is only, we'll bring the good old ruler out here. It is actually only 9.7 inches long. So you should be able to fit this in any decent sized computer case or smaller ones. You don't need a huge, gigantic case to fit this card in, so you can get a lot of performance in there in a small package like this. Also unique on it is the I/O ports here. We have, trying to get it in the camera here, we have 3 display ports. DisplayPort, 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 1 HDMI. So it is only 1 HDMI. Sometimes you typically find 2 display ports and 2 HDMI, but this is 3 display ports. Quite easy to set up a multi-display port setup at any rate. So that's the basic design on that. Now let's talk about some of the special features that MSI has on this. So we talked about on the box the MSI TwinFrozer 7, and it even says it right here at the top, MSI TwinFrozer 7. They're quite proud of that. That's their thermal design. That consists of the fans, the shroud, and the heatsink underneath. Basically all of the thermal properties of the video card is summarized in that TwinFrozer 7. So the fans here is called MSI's Torx 3.0 fans, and the reason why is this is a new design that combines both the traditional fan blade and their MSI special dispersion fan blade. So it has a traditional fan blade, which is actually these blades here, and then it has these special dispersion fan blades, and they have a much steeper drop off on the edge. And the reason for that is that MSI wants to combine both a high pressure airflow, but also a consistent and stable airflow. So instead of going with just one fan blade method, they actually use both, a traditional and their dispersion fan blade together, to give it the best of both worlds on the airflow. So basically it means really efficient airflow and very quiet airflow while you're gaming, and it gives it plenty of cooling underneath. Then you've got the heatsink itself, which goes throughout the whole video card and actually goes past the PCB. Here's the printed circuit board right here, and look how much extra, there's like an extra inch there of heatsink on the end of this. So it actually has an enlarged heatsink, and it has copper heat pipes that come through and disperse heat out to the heatsink. But what's unique about this heatsink design, and you probably can't see it too well in this video, let's see if I can bring it up here to you. If you look right under this heat pipe, this little triangle thing that's right underneath this heat pipe here, there's one here and then there's one on this side, and there might be ones on the other side, but they're definitely on this side. These are basically air ducts, special air ducts built into the heatsink, and what they do is they direct air onto the heat pipe itself. So you see how the heat pipe comes out here? Well, usually that doesn't get a lot of air that flows over it on the edges here. But what these dispersion fins, let's call them, do is blows or ducts heat onto the actual heat pipes coming out of the heatsink. So not only are the heat pipes cooled inside the heatsink normally, but they are also cooled on the outside around it as well. So MSI wants to ensure that, here you go, I think you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, you can see it better on this one. It's this right here. This little notch here is basically an air duct. And so on the inside, what that's doing is that one's helping the air being blown right onto the heat pipe that's on the inside. So yeah, the heat pipes themselves, and not just the fins of the heatsink, actually get actively cooled, which is unique. So that's very special, and that's one thing that MSI does there with that design. The fans also support zero frozer technology, so they will shut off below 60 degrees Celsius, so you won't even hear them if you're in a light load situation. The heatsink is aerodynamically controlled, as we discussed, and that allows the air to flow through it in an aerodynamic manner, basically just easier airflow through the whole thing. It has the heat pipes are consolidated as close together as they can be onto the GPU, so they're very close together onto the GPU, and it uses a nickel-plated copper base plate over that goes directly onto the GPU. And then under that, which we can't see here, but under that there are thermal pads on the VRMs and the memory. So the VRMs and the memory are cooled. We just can't see that here, but there's thermal pads that make contact with the heatsink. MSI also uses its premium thermal compound X paste on the GPU. And there is a tense close quarter cooling die-cast metal sheet, basically, that acts as both a heatsink and strengthens the video card. We can see part of it here. We can't see the whole thing, but right here, going through here and up here, it's basically a plate that sits right here as well. It's kind of screwed onto the PCB. It's basically a die-cast plate that sits directly onto the hardware and provides that extra heat dissipation and cooling because it acts as a heatsink. But also strengthens the whole printed circuit board itself and makes it very strong. So that, combined with the backplate on it, makes this a very tough video card. Now the backplate is unique as well. You can't see it here, but there are thermal pads underneath it that actually transfer the heat up to the backplate, and it's ventilated so it does not trap heat. So the backplate actually aids in cooling the video card as well in a real way. And let me bring the label up to you here. There you go. You can see what video card this is here, and you can get a closer image of that with the MSI Dragon. It looks really nice, the backplate. And here's a nice close-up of the edge here. Now this lights up, this MSI logo, that entire white surface there, that is RGB and completely lights up. The back is kind of closed off, but that's because, again, remember the heatsink extends beyond the PCB on this video card. I like these nice ridges here on the end. Just gives it a really kind of like a fast moving feel, like it's just moving fast, you know, even just sitting there has a nice look to it. But here's close up on the edges here, and then the IO ports here as well. Gives you a good view of the video card. Now the RGB on this, well, it's in several places. Right under here, this slit here, this is fully RGB under this edge. And then when it comes to here, it's this edge right here. You can kind of see the plating underneath. This edge right here, this lights up. And then on the top, it has the same thing. It has this edge here, lights up, and this edge here lights up, and then this entire surface here lights up. So there's actually quite a bit of RGB on it. Again, check out our review of the video card, and we have pictures with the RGB showing so you can see what it looks like. You can control that with MSI's Dragon software, and it is called MSI's Mystic Light RGB. You can fully customize that in software. Of course, the video card supports MSI Afterburner, so you can do manual overclocking with the video card, and that is exactly what we've done in our review. Once again, we have a review that compares this to a Radeon RX 5600 XT, an 8GB Radeon RX 5500 XT, and then this card in there overclocked and out of the box. So it's a very good comparison and should show you all the information you need to know about performance and pricing. We talk about that a lot in our conclusion. So please check out the review on TheFPSReview.com of the MSI GeForce GTX 1660 Super Gaming X. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.